and welcome to the latest episode of the South Tip Arts Podcast. Walking in the Way is a series of performances by Pauline Cummins and Francis Mezzetti, begun in 2009, where the artists appear as men and represents a decade-long collaboration between them. It is a timely showcase of contemporary thinking on gender issues and challenges the perceptions of what is culturally viewed as normal public realm negotiations from a gendered stance. Women throughout their lives experience vulnerability in public space, have a sense of not belonging, with the implication of impropriety or deviant sexuality for walking alone on a street. A fact, once again, all too close to the bone with recent tragic events. What began a decade ago as a project that informed the artists themselves about the different ways in which men and women occupy space has grown into an exploration of different cultural assumptions about the right of ownership of the spaces of our daily lives, whether in Northern or Southern Ireland, England, Scotland, Spain or Turkey. The show will also launch a new publication, Walking in the Way, Performing Masculinity, edited by Catherine Marshall and including essays by Dr. Anya Phillips, Dr. Kate Antosick-Parsons and Niamh Correa. Walking in the Way opened here at South Tip Arts Centre yesterday evening, Thursday the 7th of April. It was opened by art historian, curator and editor of Walking in the Way Performing Masculinity, Catherine Marshall, and it runs until the 14th of May. I was delighted to be joined for a chat by Pauline and Francis during their installation week here in the gallery. Pauline Cummins and Francis Mezzetti, you're very, very welcome to South Tipperary Arts Centre for our latest exhibition, which is called Walking in the Way, a Retrospective. Now, for anybody who isn't familiar with your work, you have been developing this project since 2009, which is a long time to be working together. First of all, can I ask you, do you know each other? Like, are you old college friends? Was Walking in the Way your first iteration as a team, or had you done previous work before that?
Yeah, first of all, I'm delighted to be here and in this exhibition. And yeah, we've worked together, Pauline and I, before. And in fact, Pauline was my tutor in college.
Oh, really?
So yeah, but we have worked on different projects before. We worked in 99, 2001, a 2-year project called Appearances. And that was with Sandra Johnson. So the three of us did this countrywide series of performances.
So you've always, both of you always worked in the kind of genre of performance. When you studied art, how did you get into performance in the first place? Was it kind of a natural progression in your work? Was it something you went in intending to go towards? Or, did you kind of start off painting and just find that it didn't fit you or whatever?
I think I was drawn to performance from straight away in college. I had always done painting, drawing and, various other. And I went through sculpture and installation and that. But I think, Pauline, you...
No, I would have come through, my main form of expression would have been through video installation and writing and using text in those video installations. So I did that for many years, but then some of that evolved into performing to camera. So that would be towards performance, but it's very different to do live performance. It's much more demanding,
rigorous. Yeah.
So it came about that I had an opportunity to go to Newcastle on Tyne to show work I'd done about Bloody Sunday, and I thought, I'm not going to send the work without me. I have to go, because I felt that people in England didn't know anything about what was going on in Northern Ireland, really. So then I developed a performance. So I had already the experience of writing text and making images on slide and then, videoing that or, performing to camera. But this was the first time I thought it was very important.
Yeah. Well, I suppose there was kind of a human connection, having the physical body and person there to kind of relate to. It made the work maybe a bit more relatable for people who didn't understand the situation. But just... how did it feel the first time that both of you, this is a question to both of you, that you ever did a live performance? Because I can't imagine anything more terrifying, to be honest.
I did find it, I think if you care enough about the work, if you really sincerely want to communicate with people and you feel I can't do it unless I'm there using my own body and using my own voice, then that gives you courage, but it is quite challenging. Yeah,
I suppose.
Yeah.
And in Walking in the Way, the difference here is that it's men that you're embodying physical maleness or being a man in a space and how that feels as opposed to being a woman in a space. Do you think the fact that you're sort of disguised, does that make it easier to kind of carry out the work? Or is self-consciousness a thing at all in any of your work, or does that just fall away when you work in, kind of performance type work?
Yeah. I don't know if it's disguised, it's really about embodying aspects that we identify in ourselves as well, but also what we researched, what we look at, what we observe. And so getting into that, yes, it is challenging at first, but then to hold the position is, I think I forget about, that it is something I'm doing in front of people. It's hard to find the words. It really is something that I want so much. I want to communicate this, that it overrides any other aspect. This is important to do, and just like any other art aspect, just get out and do it.
Also, you've done all your research. You've practiced walking. It's called walking in the way, but it's walking the way we observe other people walking.
Yeah.
And so for a long time we would, when we were based in Dublin, just follow people, and the variety of ways that men walk. It's not like men only walk one way. So you would kind of pick up on one person and just walk behind them and do exactly what they were doing. And then it becomes kind of natural. Yeah. And you can slip in and out of that.
It sounds a little like kind of method acting in a way, that you kind of are taking on people's, quirks, their little mannerisms is the word I'm looking for.
And the difference, that what we were particularly struck by was the confidence that men had in the street to stop. Like one time we were watching this guy leaning on a bin for half an hour, like just looking, and we were thinking, women would never do. Now it's not about the bin, it's like it was comfortable. Yeah. He was completely comfortable. Nobody was bothering him. If a woman stopped and stood in a, you feel you'd be annoyed, or somebody be wondering what the hell you're doing. So it was very interesting. So we're prepared. Yeah. Also, some performances are 8 hours, and they're very demanding to remain in that chosen way of moving your body. Yeah. For a long time, to go into bars, to go to cafes.
All the accoutrements of maleness make it easier to stay in that.
Sometimes, I mean, one of the pieces in the show is from Leith in Edinburgh.
Yes, my favourite one.
Thank you. And we're dressed up in this complete male Scottish outfit, kilt and everything. Yeah. And we've no like facial hair or anything that would suggest maleness. Yeah. But we were completely accepted.
Yeah, it's the stance. It's the bodily, kind of that physical, I'm taking up this space, this is my space, I'm here, get away from me, Exactly. That sort of
that sense of entitlement. I'm entitled to be here, I'm entitled to hold this seat or position in the street. And as in Derry, we can stop the traffic if we feel like it. Any of those, or in Seville, walking through a marketplace, that sense of entitlement,
carrying something that made it essential that other people got out of the way.
Yeah, that I heard you listen to you talking about Seville and your dad's actually, and watching your dad's and what you gleaned from your dad's. That really kind of hit home with me. That was lovely. I like where you're going with that. I'm not sure where it is, but it's really, I think as a woman, I don't know, is it a father-daughter thing or whatever? There's that specialness is there, like. And I know from my dad was skilled at what he did, and that, like, I did learn things from him kind of by osmosis, as you do.
Yeah.
And only when you go to sort of maybe, I know you're kind of having fun with the whole idea of maleness, and kind of you're kind of poking fun at everything when you're doing it, and it's lovely humour in it. But that sense of sort of copying your dads and sort of embodying your dads, and I mean, I even think them. Like, do you look like your dads? I mean, do you when you embodied the older man and dressed as an older man in Seville, did you feel like, oh my God, I'm like my dad?
Well, yes, I think in that picture in the back of the book, where I'm standing just against this black background, and I have a photograph of my dad in that stance. I didn't have that picture in my mind beforehand, but I'm actually taking on that stance. So it's a particular way he would have walked.
Was that a conscious thing, or did it just
not
happen?
At the time?
Okay.
Yeah,
that's lovely.
How you would, just stand and take up a position in the street. Yeah.
I felt more like my granddad. And in Edinburgh, I was really struck by how similar I looked. Yeah. And again, I had no idea that would happen. But he was in the army.
Yeah.
And the whole thing in Edinburgh refers to warriors, to the long tradition of the Scots. And, the current wars, there's always wars going on. So it was dealing with the way men are kind of sacrificed. So while you say we do poke fun, there's great respect and love as well. And I think, some of our colleagues, our male colleagues, would have questioned us, were we making fun of men? And we're not.
But I imagine
we're making fun of silly carry on.
Yeah, I imagine
in the art world and everywhere.
It might make you feel maybe quite more empathetic and sort of, one with men and what they maybe have to deal with. And we all have our challenges. Just because you're a man doesn't mean you don't have any. So,
we both felt that.
Yeah, I think very much so. I think looking at men, and I think Edinburgh especially, and that worry and feedback we got from men as well. One man in particular that responded to us saying that the futility of war, I've used that, it's sacrificing young men over to, by the big generals and very conscious of what's happening today. And the same thing going on. So yes, there's so much of an expectation on men to achieve, to compete with each other. So it doesn't allow for that, for them to be vulnerable.
No, at all.
And we've met a lot of people who are men who are willing to show their vulnerability. And it's really that sense of, we're all humans. The categorization is really very difficult. Yeah. And it separates,
it does.
Male or female and all that.
And we're playing with that.
Yes, which is lovely, because everybody seems so obsessed with putting labels on themselves today.
From when
and
you're
like declaring
child.
what you are.
Yeah.
Whereas like none of us really know, we're a work in progress.
Exactly.
These things take time.
Nice way of saying it.
Like you never get to the end of it really. So when you get to the end, you still probably don't know who you are, or what you're doing, or what you're supposed to be doing. But that's all part of the fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think the title Walking in the Way suggests that there is one way, which of course there isn't. There isn't one masculinity, so it's a play on a lot of religious and state things, that this is the way, which, is, again, that's poking fun at that particular slant of where we are.
Another question I had after just kind of looking at how long you've been doing this is like, as women, do you find it makes you more empowered as a woman, having sort of embodied that? Has it kind of married together your masculine and feminine sides, working in this way for so long? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think what came to mind when you asked that was the experience that you have when you appear as a man and you're walking towards three big men who are kind of taking up all the space.
Yes, yeah.
And you're so conditioned as a woman to get out of the way, not draw attention to yourself, because these three big guys are walking towards you.
Yeah.
And if you appear as a man and hold on to that, I'm a man going about my business.
Stand your ground.
They just part and there's no comment. Now, I think you learn as a young woman that there might be a comment or there might be some approach that's unwelcomed.
Yeah.
And that's conditioning that a lot of women are speaking out about now and are tired of. But it's also in your own self that you're making yourself get out of the way when there possibly is no need.
No need, yeah. It's very true. So I suppose you carry that kind of, the kind of legacy of what you're doing in the work when you're men, in inverted commas, into your physical woman presence.
Yeah.
So you carry that with you all the time. Yeah. That must be really kind of empowering.
It is, and even the way you are moving now.
Yes.
Because when you say
it's making me want to, you know,
put your shoulders up, you know, and you're taking another different stance.
Yeah, it's kind of a power kind of a thing, isn't
you're
it?
imagining this.
Yeah, you're taking your power, and that's amazing. So the other thing that's happening around this exhibition here, Walking in the Way, is the launch of your publication, which is Walking in the Way, Performing Masculinity. Can you tell me a little bit about the book? I mean, it's going to be a wonderful archive of, you know, documentary of all this work that you've done.
Of the places we went to, you know, we were in Istanbul, Seville, Malaga, Belfast, Edinburgh. So it covers all those different cities and what they evoked from us. Like, we're doing this, you know, we're going as the same people to do performance art, but each place is influencing what the subject matter will be and how we develop. Yeah. Because there is performance in each place. Yeah. And in the book, there's essays that go into different aspects of the work and in great depth investigate what has happened, why we did it, how we did it, the results of what we did. So it's really, for anyone who's interested in performance or art in general, it's I think it's going to be invaluable.
Yeah, I think it'll be in, like, on the college library shelves for definitely. Yeah. And Pauline, you taught in
I taught in NCAD, lectured in other colleges, but I taught in the sculpture department in NCAD for 15 years, video and installation initially, and then moved into talking and teaching.
Well, it'd be a whole another conversation, but the way that video and installation has developed, I'd say, over the course of your career, even is probably
it was not accepted as a medium, as an art medium, when some of us began to work with it.
Yeah. And just this is a total aside, but just something I'm interested in. How do you feel about the kind of shift into the digital and the kind of immediacy and the quick things and all these little tools now that you can get to help you do this stuff quicker? How do you feel about that, like, from your art perspective?
I think it affects the art, how it's like moving from oils to acrylics. Yeah. You know, there's a huge difference in what's produced. I'm very interested. It depends who's using it. Yeah. Some people are going to use it in a fantastically brilliant way, like Aoife Dunn, who does digital installations, you know, beautiful things that she designs using all those materials. They're still materials. Yeah. And it's still a human brain playing with the materials. No, I mean, I'm all for it if it's used intelligently.
Yeah, and actually as tools, and just even to kind of workflow, to speed up workflow and stuff like that. These tools are...
it's very exciting. We could only imagine it, you know, when we were beginning to work with video. Yeah.
So this is not a bookend to Walking in the Way, is it? Like the publication, is this it's not the end of this project, or, you know?
Well, I think series. It's an acknowledgement of what we've achieved, because it's quite a body of work, and it was important to capture it now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Have you got anything planned in, you know, in terms of another outing in the next short while, or?
Well, we have, we're going to have a different show of Walking in the Way in Wexford Arts Centre.
Yeah.
In September.
Yeah. And then next year we'll have one in Dublin in the lab.
Oh, very good.
So each one, as we said, like going to each city, it will have a different theme, and there will be different images. The book, just listening to you talking about this, Pauline, our publishers is WAG. Okay. So that's Women Artists Action Group. Yeah. That was set up in 1987.
85.
85,
yeah,
yes. By Pauline.
Oh, fantastic,
Yeah.
For women artists who were not getting any coverage, any selection for big important shows.
Okay.
And we were all really tired of this, so the group of us got together and took on the kind of press reviews, took on the institutions about funding, made connections with women artists all over Europe, and had a kind of a power base to say this isn't good enough. We need to have our work seen and supported. And there has been a huge shift to to respecting women artists and their work since the late 80s and 90s. So it's really important to persist in that.
Yeah,
to not let things slip back.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we definitely don't want that.
I just wanted to mention that we have young artist Sinead Kyo.
Oh, Sinead is amazing now.
Absolutely. And they've been so helpful to us in setting up and helping us clarify what exactly we want and taking care of the social media aspect as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. Yeah.
That's great. And it's good to have somebody like that. I think I don't know, just I'm thinking of my own sort of sometimes inability to, like, if I was down there with you trying to, like, go higher, go lower, go left, go right, I would need somebody to kind of rein me in and go, what do you want?
Yeah.
Is this going to work? Yeah. Let's do it now. Come on.
Well, come to the studio. Luckily, we've been in Emma, which has been a tremendous help to have a studio there together and come in and say, have you ordered this? Have you done that? Have you come? I told you last week. Have you done
Yeah. That's exactly what you want. Somebody who's like organised.
Yes. And it has been wonderful to be in Emma, to have that studio there. And we have it since last November. And just for us to be, because we don't live near each other, and to have a central place that we can go to and tease out different things and work through it and have all the material around us. So, and it's not going to be touched, or you don't have to shift it, or in any studio or take it off.
Can I just say one other thing? You asked, did we always work together?
Yeah.
We do our own work separately, and then when we're invited, we will go to Seville or we'll go to London or whatever,
so you've got
and do that performance. So it's not like it's following up. There are gaps between each.
You're going off, you do other things, and you come back together for this. That's nice.
Frances has been working on about Lucia Joyce, the daughter of James Joyce.
So I have, I'm working with Joyce Garvietz, on James Joyce and Lucia Joyce. So that's a 5-country project.
Wow.
So we do a residency every year, and this is the final year. So we'll be doing that in Trieste in the 2nd of July. So that's collaboration is ongoing as well.
Oh, lovely,
So we were in Switzerland last November, and so that's
there'll be another book in that, surely, because
now she knows how to do it.
That's
how she knows it, how not to do it.
No, I love this idea of sort of working long term on that it's evolving all the time, it's changing, it doesn't stop, it sort of just carries on or turns into something different, or even probably just informs your individual stuff a little bit as well, without
and it's another aspect of the masculine, the father-daughter relationship as well, in different ways.
Absolutely.
And women as artists, because Lucia was an artist, but she was under in the shadow, really.
So difficult shadow to come out from under.
A big one, for anyone.
Yeah. It's been absolutely fantastic talking to you. I'm not going to keep you any longer. The exhibition opens here on Thursday, which will be open by the time people get to hear this. It's going to be opened by Catherine Marshall.
Yeah.
Who's is the editor of the publication and is also on our board of directors here at the Art Centre, and has worked with us a number of times. We're very fond of Catherine.
Catherine is a powerhouse and
really
such a great supporter.
Yeah. So the best of luck with the run of this exhibition here and carrying it forward on to Wexford and further afield, even to Dublin. It's brilliant to have you here. Thanks so much for taking time out to have a chat with me today.
We're delighted to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a million. And that's it for this episode of the South Tip Arts Podcast. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to find out more information about Walking in the Way by Pauline Cummins and Frances Mezzetti, which is showing here at South Tipperary Arts Centre until May the 14th, you can visit our website www.southtipArtscentre.ie. You'll find a link in the show notes underneath this episode where you can explore more about Pauline and Frances' work. If you'd like to get in touch with the podcast, the email address is southtipArtsPodcast@gmail.com. That's southtipArtsPodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.